What's up, y'all? It's that sports kid back with another schedule preview, also an offseason review, and a record prediction at the end. Today, we're doing the Duke Blue Devils. There's Riley Leonard, or it's Leonard. I don't do last names. I suck at that. This is some information. I'll go through it. Last year, Duke was 9-4 with a victory over UCF in the Military Bowl. Phenomenal year in terms of Duke's standards. Pretty miserable and bottom of the barrel, usually in the ACC. So great year after first year head coach Mike Elko led them to that. I think he's going to be very good there. People aren't quite thinking so this year as the over-under for betting. Over-under for wins this year is 6.5. So probably bowl eligible is what people, the sports books at least, think for Duke. In terms of returning production, 10 players on offense return, all but one on offense, and 8 of the 11 players on defense return. No players got drafted last year, so a lot in Durham that they are building on. Pretty sure it's Durham. I don't know. They're like 3 cities in North Carolina. Wake, NC State, and Duke are all like in like a 30-minute drive from each other. Durham's near there. Hopefully, I'm getting the city right. So my personal rating for the offense is a 7 out of 10, above average but not great. Riley Leonard or Leonard, whatever his name is. He's a little bit slept on. Could probably be a top 25 or 30 quarterback. He has a couple players around him, but nothing too fancy. Defense, I rated a 5.5 out of 10. Not fantastic. I think their linebacker room is lacking a little bit. Everything else is pretty mid. So, personal ratings right there. I'm thinking this is going to be a mid sort of tier team. Not fantastic, but definitely not bad. Probably going to a bowl game. In terms of recruiting for last season, all of these players will be on the squad and able to play this year. They had the 68th best recruiting class and the 59th best transfer class. They brought in 26 commits, 26 true freshmen, and all of them are 3 stars. A lot of players, a lot of bodies. No one too great, no one really terrible. 5 of those players were wide receivers that Coach Elko brought in, and 5 of them were, I believe, defensive linemen or edge rushers. So heavy classes for both of those positions. Their top player, though, is Kevin O'Connor. He plays linebacker, and he is from Easton, Maryland. 6'4", 240, and a top 700 player in the country, and a top 15 player from Maryland. He could probably develop into something. He might get time on the field this year. Not sure. If he did, it would be very limited, probably versus their FCS team or something. Could develop. I think they lost their top defensive player this past season. I think that's what I read. Also a linebacker. So Kevin O'Connor probably won't fill his shoes quite yet, but maybe he will develop a little bit and get there. The Duke Blue Devils' second best recruit is Marquise Collins. He is from College Station, Texas. Plays running back, 5'9", under 200 pounds, and 65th best running back in the country in this class. So sort of mid, maybe a little below average. Hopefully he will develop. Grayson Loftus is their 3rd best recruit from this past class. Plays quarterback and is from South Carolina. Top 1,000 player in the country and a top 15 player from South Carolina. Sure, they're hoping he can develop as well and take Riley Leonard, current quarterback spot eventually. In terms of this top 60 transfer class, they brought in 9 players. All of them were 3 stars. Their best players were Jake Hornibrook. He is an offensive tackle from Stanford. Al Blades Jr., a cornerback from Miami, and Miles Jones, a cornerback from Texas A&M. Pretty much all the offseason stuff right there. This is really what we wanted to see. The football schedule, from left to right, we have week by week, starting with Clemson, ending with Pitt. Schedule difficulty, my personal rating is an A-. They do play the 3 best teams in the conference, and then a lot of sort of mid teams in conference. Then they also play Notre Dame out of conference. Sort of a tough year for them in terms of the schedule, at least. They, in terms of like bottom of the barrel ACC schools, they only drew 1, which was Virginia. Didn't get Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech or Boston College or Syracuse, really. Those are what I think are kind of the bottom of the barrel ACC teams. They didn't get any of them, only Virginia. Week 1, they played Clemson. I did a Clemson video released yesterday. This is going to be a very difficult game for Duke to win if they are to do so at home, so they do have a bit of an advantage there, but this is probably a ACC championship contending team, the Clemson Tigers. So I'm giving Duke from between a 15 to 40% chance of winning that game. The bottom tier is only for games that they're absolutely not going to win. So if it was like Georgia, I'd probably put Georgia in that bottom category. Like, absolutely, Duke has no chance in that game. But this is a home game. First game of the season. It could do something. I don't really see it happening. So Clemson is going in that orange category. Next is Lafayette. Try not to get that confused with Lehigh. It is Lafayette Leopards. They're FCS, so sort of Division II, the second division. Duke should totally run away with that game. No problem there. Sort of the same thing with Northwestern, but they're actually a Big Ten team. Northwestern's just really bad, and if you've been watching the news recently, they're not having some great things go well. They're not having anything really go well in terms of their staff. The head coach got in some trouble. Good research that on your own. Next team that Duke is going to play is UConn, who I think is actually going to be decent this year. They play as an independent, so they're not Power 5, Group of 5. They're just independent. I think UConn will be fine, and the game is being played in Connecticut, but Duke should definitely go in there and win that game. Between 65, probably 75% chance I give Duke to beat the UConn Huskies on the road. So yeah. Next game is versus Notre Dame. This is a home game. This is also an out-of-conference game. Notre Dame also an independent, actually. I could honestly see this game, Duke and Notre Dame, go either way. Probably not super high scoring. Probably below 30 points for both teams, I think. But definitely closer to a 50-50. Probably a sold-out crowd at Duke. Should be a very good game, and it should tell a lot about the rest of the season. The next game on schedule is North Carolina State. This is their second conference game, and NC State could be good, could be sort of mid. I'm going to put them in that same category as Notre Dame. Between 40 to 60% chance that Duke wins that. Sort of a coin toss. It will really depend on if they have any key injuries at this point for Duke. or if they're just not playing well. I think this will also be a very showing game for how the rest of the season is going to go. I believe we're about halfway through the season here, so I think at the halfway point, Duke should be probably 4-2, maybe if they're lucky 5-3, 5-1, not 5-3. I think at the halfway point, at worst 3-3, at best 5-1. They will definitely lose one of those 3 games: Notre Dame, NC State, or Clemson. Um, Halfway through the season, still have half the season to play. Next game is Florida State on the road. Florida State, one of the top 3 teams in the ACC. I think it will be very difficult for Duke to go to Tallahassee and win that game. Florida State might be on a roll at this point in the season, and Duke's just not great. I think FSU is going to have a very strong offense and defense probably, and I don't think Duke will quite compete with that. Probably not a blowout, but not really close either. I think Florida State definitely wins that game. The next game is against Louisville. It is on the road, and Louisville is coming off of their bye week. So because of that, and because it's on the road, I'm putting it in the middle category, because Louisville will be rested, and maybe they'll have a home crowd. If it weren't for those 2 factors, I'd put it in the same category as probably UConn. Not that those teams are about as good as each other, but I don't see Louisville being great. Definitely beatable, but because of those 2 factors, Louisville's going in the middle category, meaning it'll probably be a coin toss, maybe 60-40 or 40-60 for Duke. Their chances in that game, probably a good game actually. I'll probably end up watching that game. I watch so much college football, I'll probably end up watching most of these games somehow. The next game is Wake Forest at home. Demon Deacons come into Duke. Demon Deacons go to Duke. They go to Duke. They lost their fantastic quarterback who transferred to Notre Dame. Oh, wow, they're still going to play them. I forgot about that. Huh. Wake Forest isn't going to be as good as they have been recently. I believe they played for an ACC championship. I forgot. 2 years ago, when Pitt won it. I forgot who Pitt played. I think it was Wake. Wake Forest is on a decline, I'm thinking, right now, at the moment. So, again, another home game for Duke. Only 3 away games in these first 9 games. I think Duke has a good chance. Also kind of depends on how Wake is doing. Yeah. Next game, only 3 left. Next game is versus rivals North Carolina, and it is on the road. North Carolina is another one of those top schools in the ACC this year, and I don't see Duke being good enough to pull off this victory. UNC has Drake May. They should be pretty good. Duke, I don't think they can go in and score enough points to keep in it with North Carolina. I think UNC should have a very good offense, and Duke's defense, as I said earlier, 5.5, pretty mid. How I rate them, I think that one might be a blowout. Yeah. The next game is against the Virginia Cavaliers. That is away, but Virginia's not good. So, putting Virginia in the same category as UConn, Duke definitely should win that game. I don't see UVA improving at all, or at least much from last year. And Duke should probably take care of business in that one. Their final game of the season, of the regular season, is Pitt. Going in the same category. I think Pitt is going in the same category as the other middle teams. I think Pitt is slept on a little bit. could be decent, could be probably as good or better than Miami. And if you watched the last video, go do that, please. It has like 4 views. And even do his Clemson, whatever. I think Pitt could be decent this year, probably about the same as Miami. And in the last video, I said Miami was going to be all right. Tough schedule for Duke. A lot of teams in the middle category. So my projected record is 7.5. 7 and 5, not 7.5. 7.5. I'm having trouble speaking. 7 and 5. 7 wins, 5 losses for Duke is what I am predicting. Wins over Lafayette, Northwestern, UConn, and Virginia are expected, I think. And they probably should win 2, at least 2. Probably 3, hopefully 3 in the middle category. Potentially an upset could happen in one of the 3 games in the 15 to 40% category. Don't really see it happening, but 7 and 5 is my projected record. If you disagree with anything I said today, feel free to comment below. I've been working on this format with the schedule previews. I've added some things. I have gotten rid of some things, I think, and overall trying to make them better. Also, I'd like to learn more about all the teams. So if you're a Duke fan and you disagree, or if I did something wrong, if I said something wrong, then let me know. Always open to learning more. Until the next one, which should go up tomorrow. Peace.